This is Lundon Calling, show number 5 of the London Bridge Talk Show, where we bridge the gaps with 3 generations of Gabby gays. Can you believe it, folks? Welcome to the show. Please fasten your seatbelts, though. No topic is taboo, and we warn you in advance that we have potty mouths. Now, bridging these generation gaps are your hosts, Sean Chandler, Donny Winter, and myself. And as the elder at age 80, I shall moderate the show with Sean at age 50, oh my God, a half a century old, and Donny at age 25, a quarter of a century. And let's see how the generations think, folks. That's what we're here for. We might be called the gay male answer to The View. And that would make me whoopee, wouldn't it? And Sean is definitely Joy Behar. Okay, and we can't, Donny, there's that strange girl on there. I guess you could be her. Anyway, folks, this is The View, as you've never heard it before. Hey, oh goodness, there is so much good in the worst of us. Did you hear that, Sean? There is so much good in the worst of us, and so much bad in the best of us. Oh, can't we relate? That it's hard to tell which of us ought to reform the rest of us. I certainly don't want to be reformed by Sean. Sean, welcome. I haven't introduced you yet, but you're there.
I am.
Oh,
I am. Hi, listeners.
You are. Okay. Listen. Hello, Donny.
Hello.
You're here too. Sean, I remember a while back that you called me an old geezer. Now, you can be in denial, but I remember it distinctly. You said I was an old geezer. And I'm saying, okay, so I'm in the 80 group. What does the half-century group think of and call me an old geezer? So what did you exactly mean?
Well, old people in their 50s have a tendency to lose their memories, and so I have no recollection of ever saying that.
Well, and Donny, I know his 20s. Are you kidding? They call anyone over 40 old geezers, I think, you know. Donny, what's an old geezer in your mind?
I can't say that I've ever called anyone an old geezer, but I guess we would, like, personally, I would say by the time I get over 40, I would probably consider myself older, but I don't know if I would use old geezer. But that's just me.
Well, you're both pretty nice. I tell you, in the gay community, folks who are listening and might be in the straight community, in the gay community, the younger gays have this situation in our minds where they call old geezers, and they're pretty blunt and upfront about it, you know. He's an old geezer. I don't want to date him, you know. And it's almost a demeaning thing to be an old geezer. And now I are one. Oh, well. So what?
Do you really think that ageism... I could see that ageism like maybe 10, 15 years ago, but do you really think that people still feel that way? I mean, gay men.
Oh, yes.
I think so, too, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are going to have to explain it to me because, I mean, I don't think that way, but that's primarily because I'm married and happily married, and so I'm not in the dating field. Perhaps if I were, I'd feel that way. So why do you guys feel that way?
Well, I got you with your group, and if you were single, you would probably be one of the ones calling somebody like me at age 80, oh, he's an old geezer, you know. Never even wanting to possibly experience how wonderful it could be to be with an old geezer, and you'd miss out on something.
Well, apparently I did call you that. I just don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I wrote it down, and I keep track, Donny. I have to with Sean. Yeah.
Well, to answer, I cannot speak. To answer Sean's question, I have noticed that a lot of gay men in their 30s have this issue when it comes to interacting with gay men in their 20s. Because I've seen other gay men, well, I've heard other gay men be like, "Oh, he's 30, I'm not interested." That's when they start to decline, and I'm just like, "Oh my God, like, are you being that shallow right now?" Like, just because someone is 30 doesn't mean, they have their foot half in the grave already. I mean, for goodness sakes.
Well, I tell you, it doesn't change in either the gay or the straight community, to be honest. I mean, take a guy 30 or 50 or whatever, and see if he wants to get a date with a 20-year-old, a woman. No, they don't want to date somebody that old. Are you kidding? But it's there. We go through it, folks, don't we? I don't know. I don't know where it all comes from. It is so. It's not like a normal little animal should be, and we are animals,
I feel like the whole ageist thing is definitely, if I remember correctly, a Puritan belief. I think. Which is why we're very, very iffy on the whole age thing. Like, we get kind of off-put by large age gaps.
But,
individual preference, I think. Like, for instance, I'm lucky because I married a man who didn't necessarily want to date anybody on the football team. He wanted to date the football coach.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
So we all have our preferences. We all have who we think is hot and what age group they prefer to be with, and I don't know. Ace, are you feeling just a little ageism hitting you more so? Because we discussed this, I think, in our last show, if not 2 shows back.
Yeah.
I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I know. No, do I think about age more now than I did when I was 20? Definitely. Did I think about age at all then? No. So we do change with time. Yeah. I look at it pretty much the same way I've looked at it for a long time. Sean knows this, Donny. My belief on this, that it's not very often that science and God or the Bible or whatever come together and agree on something. But this is one of the things that they agree on, science and the Bible. And they agree on the fact that time is nothing. It's, what was the word I used on it, Sean? Time is, anyway, that's what happens when you're 80. You lose these little words in your mind. And then, but time doesn't mean anything, and I know it.
Time is irrelevant?
Irrelevant, yes. Totally irrelevant. That's what science believes, and that's what the Bible believes. Time is irrelevant. And therefore, if time is irrelevant, you have an age. That's a time, age. Age is a time. I tell you, when Patrick and I got together, and he was 23 years younger than me, he called me on because he knew that belief. We talked beforehand. He called me on it and says, hey, if time is irrelevant, then my being 23 years younger than you is totally irrelevant also. And I took the slap right in the face. Yeah, because he was correct. I was the one that was saying, I was having a problem that he was younger. And there is no problem. And when we begin to look at everybody in that light, I think it, whether they're 20 or 30, 40, 50, 80, 100, they're just another human being. And they're just somebody encased in that particular body that they're in. And they're timeless, just like me.
Time is a human projection that we assign to something that we feel like we have to keep in order with because we don't like chaos.
I think you're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're correct. But I tell you, the chaos is there in your belief systems. It's got to be.
Well, I mean, think of it this way: animals don't have a sense of time,
Right.
We as humans are the ones that feel like we need to keep. I think animals feel like they need to keep order, but that's mostly out of fear. But we always have to have answers for everything. And I don't know, maybe I'm being a little too, Stephen Hawking here, but that's my opinion of it. I think that we're just afraid of chaos and disorganization, and we feel like we always have to tidy everything up and assign labels and assign systems.
I think a dog has a sense of time or something or other, because they say that, let's say I go to the store and I tell my dog I'll be right back, and I'm gone 15 minutes, and I come home and she says, "Where have you been? I've been waiting for you forever." And then I go out and I say I'll be gone, and I leave for a week, and I come back and she's the same way. No, and time is evidently irrelevant to her also, but she thinks that everything is just the same. I don't know. But dogs are interesting.
Mm. So.
And see, with cats, you get home and they're just like, "Oh, you're back. Yeah. Now you can feed me."
Yeah.
I was having such a nice day until you got here.
Human, how dare you disturb me?
Right. You look me alive. How dare you disturb me?
I've loved cats. You know, I grew up on a farm, and at one time there were 60-some cats on the farm. Oh, it was incredible.
That's a lot of cats.
Oh.
They took over everything, and so I grew up with cats. But I also grew up with dogs, because we always had more than one dog at a time, you know.
Oh, mm-hmm. I can't imagine. How did you feed 64 cats?
I milked the cows, and I fed the cats because I milked the cows.
By the way, saying I milked cows is not making you sound any younger.
Oh dear. Well, you don't know what.
Well, to be fair, I've milked a cow before, but that was when I was like 6.
And you did it once on a field trip, right?
Yes.
I rest my case.
It's a very odd experience.
I started milking the cows while I was older than 8, but right about that time, that's when Dad says, "Okay, you can start milking the cows because you're breaking all the tractors and such." So he let me take care of the animals, and my brother, younger than that, would take care of the mechanics and have a great time with them.
What? Oh my God.
What? Did I misspeak or something?
Well, no, never mind. We should just probably move on to the next subject.
Okay, whatever. Now I'll be one.
Let's try to get the show back on track, shall we? Oh my God. Sorry.
Folks, we have not been drinking. We have not been smoking. This is just normal. So, okay. I had a radio show like that one time on KWKW Pasadena, California. We were laughing and before the show started, telling silly jokes and such. And then the show comes on, and it was, oh my God. And the switchboard lit up, thinking people calling in thinking that we were drunkards and skunks.
Oh, okay. We have definitely gone off the rails here for a second. What are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving's coming up in a few days.
Yes, it is. I'm going to be doing the same thing I have done now for 9 years.
What's that?
I'm going to be with Juanita and Mike and friends.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
This Mike, our engineer, and his lovely wife.
And they're both good cooks.
And you, Donny?
I am going to be going over to my mentor's house since I can't go home to Michigan. I had Thanksgiving with her last year as well, and it was quite nice.
Oh,
I basically get to cuddle with her cats while food happens.
And are you a vegetarian, Donny?
Oh, hell no, I like meat.
Oh, okay.
A lot.
Okay,
no, that was not meant as a suggestion.
I didn't take it there. I'm trying to realign my mind to be legitimate here, but maybe I should just let it go. Yeah, I know. Well, you guys know me better than that. Well, David and I are having dinner in the city with our friends, Ellen and Howard Margulies. Ellen is a listener of the show, and so we're having dinner with them and probably going to watch the parade, the Thanksgiving parade.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's again this year too.
I've never seen it in person. I like watching it on TV, and I'm just I know that there's going to be like majorly tight security because of what happened in Paris. You know, the tragic thing that happened in Paris last week, and there's been heavy security all through New York City as a result of that. But it should be fun. I've always wanted to see like the Bart Simpson balloons, giant balloons going up, and it's been something that's been around forever, and it even starts one of the best Christmas movies ever made, which is Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah, it's a great parade. When I was married to my ex-wife, I was one of the announcers every year for the Santa Claus Lane Parade down Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've been to that parade many times.
I loved doing the announcing for that. I did. It was fun, because I was sitting up on a place where I could see everything, and it's better than being a part of the audience.
Yeah, that parade would generally happen. I think it was usually the Sunday after Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Right about then, yeah.
Yeah, they would have it like Thanksgiving weekend sometime, and then it would be broadcast, a couple weeks later after they could edit the whole thing together.
Yeah. Johnny Grant, who was the honorary mayor of Hollywood for decades, was a friend, and he said, Ace, you've got your announcer's voice. I want to make sure that you're one of the announcers for the parade, and that's how it got started. And by the way, he came down on the Gene Lundon shows and did some gigs with us down there too. So he's a good man.
Oh, yeah.
I liked him better than Mr. Hope because Johnny took troops abroad too. Really great guy.
Did you dislike Bob Hope?
No, I didn't dislike him. You sound like one of those miserable media announcers that try to put people into a little space by using words like that.
I'm just living up to the reputation you've created for me. How did you feel about Bob Hope?
I thought he was an incredible talent and as a comedian. And because I know that he was a womanizer in the background, people knew this.
Uh-huh.
And I don't like womanizers like that. It was the same when I worked for Mr. Welk. Mr. Welk was a womanizer.
Lawrence Welk.
Yes, yeah. And so they can be terribly talented, but, when they can't keep it in their pants. I have a hard enough time keeping it in my pants, but I manage.
So you're not doing so bad despite your age.
No. I tell you, guys, as you get up in years, you'll be knowing it more and more now, Sean, because you're at the 50 part, and it starts like at 40. So Anyway, you're going to be wondering about yourself and your sexual abilities and such as you go along, because you're human. And one of the things that makes a man feel like a man is the fact that he can get a hard-on. I swear to goodness, that is the fact of life. I have too many friends who are unable. They have what I call ED or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And in the group that's right above you up to me, too many friends in that group who have ED. And in talking with them, and I don't try to be a psychologist with them or anything, but I'm concerned, and I probably get them to talk more bluntly with me than they ever would with their wife or anything. But it affects their whole being when they cannot get a hard-on and be able to perform a sexual act with somebody whom they love. Can you imagine that? It's got to affect a person, and as unfortunately it happens to too many. They say after age 40, when it starts, but in a short period of time, 60% of the male population has been able to have some sort of ED, erectile dysfunction, and you better go to the doctor when it starts, because there are things that can help you in those years. For me now, who gives a crap? I still am feeling very human. So I don't need to go for what I was tested for it many years ago. So I know what it's all about.
Well, a lot of it is a decrease in testosterone as you get older.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, mm-hmm. and I mean, you're not a person who's in my age range, isn't popping them left, right, and center like we used to when we were, 18, 20 years old. But it still happens. And a lot of it is how you take care of yourself, too. If you, if you're really super overweight or if you have heart issues, things like that. But yes, indeed, if you do feel that way, you should go to a doctor, tell your doctor what's happening with you, and the doctor can prescribe whatever is necessary to help you out with that, because it does affect many, many men psychologically. It messes with their masculinity, I think, in a way.
I do too, yeah. Somebody said, Ace, how did you ask your doctor about it? I said, just point blank. That's the best way. He's your doctor. Be totally truthful with your doctors, for heaven's sakes. So I just said, hey, doc, I can't get a hard on. What's wrong? And that'll start the conversation.
Yeah, they're not the first person to discuss that with a doctor. Yeah,
exactly.
Doctors are trained to hear all different types of information from their patients, and any doctor, I don't think there's any doctor out there who would seriously, kind of giggle or snicker if you're going to them and you're saying, I have this problem and it's really messing with my mind. And in addition to that, a lot of people out there are sexually responsible to another human being. They're married or they're in a relationship with somebody, and part of being in a relationship is the sexual contact, and not necessarily, obviously the orgasm and the pleasure is nice, but a lot of it is related to the intimacy and the expression of love towards that other person, and you don't want that other person to feel that they're not getting that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Donny, what do you got to say to all of that?
Well, I can't say that I have had any experience with this, but I do know some people on the rare occasion around my age who have experienced this, and a lot of it had to do with some sort of insecurity, like they had some sort of traumatic experience, and because of that they were not able to perform the way they were supposed to. And in that instance, I mean, if I were to, go through that same thing, I would probably try to get some counseling on that, because that trauma affecting your sexual interaction could obviously, like we were talking about, affect relationships too.
You know who I have found have ED problems? They're married men who are also closeted gays. Can you imagine being a closeted gay, being married to a beautiful woman, and it is not exciting at all? And to get a hard-on, although there have been numerous cases now that are out in the open where somebody will say, well, if he's gay, how did he get to have 4 kids? Very simple. In all of the years that he was married, you know that for 4 times of that marriage, he got a hard-on and was able to screw, and it ended up with a child being born. That's about it. But most men that are in the closet, married, and as far as their sex life with their wife, they don't really want it. They don't want it, but they can't get away from it.
Well, we discussed this on the Empty Closet show when we were talking about the time frame of which you were married to Jean.
Yeah.
And you were telling me that sex was very, very infrequent. And I mean, I've been with my husband for 25 years. We've had sex thousands of times. And I recall that, although I don't know the number, it was in double digits over the time frame that you were with her.
Yeah. 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it was something like, maybe 10 or 11 times from what I'm remembering. And so you have firsthand experience with this.
Yeah. And since I've come out of the closet and such, I've been, I don't know, fortunate, I guess, to run into so many out of the closet married men now. And we get a chance to discuss what they went through and what I went through and what the others are going through, because it's a large group of us that have been married to females. And in the old days in show business, if you were a handsome guy like Rudolph Valentino or whatever, they big boys all wanted you to get married, even though they knew you were a wild homosexual. They wanted us to all be married, because that was what the society wanted to be shown, So it's been rough for a lot of married men. Matter of fact, I just met another guy that just came out of his closet, and he's a married man, and he's trying to get his feet on the ground because it's a whole new life now. He's free. He says, I don't know what to do. I'm free. I am free. It's just blowing his mind.
I think the difference with what you were talking about with the stars in Hollywood back during the time of which you're referencing, which is, I'm going to say probably in the 30s, 40s, 50s, is that those women that they hooked them up with were essentially beards. They were there for the purpose of making the star look straight.
Yeah.
And I think in your situation, it was more like you were just afraid to be gay. You told me you never even mentioned the word gay. No. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah, these people had no idea that I was a gay man, except some of the ones with good gaydar, I suppose. But no, and that's why in the divorce everyone was so surprised, because we had such an ideal Hollywood marriage, but no one knew what was going on in the background, of course.
Right. And then you have all the men who are on the down low, who have wives and are out sleeping with men or having sex with men, and that happens a lot in certain areas of Well, it probably happens a lot everywhere, but I understand, like in the South, it happens quite a bit. Like it's a big problem down there. But maybe I'm just generalizing.
No, I do think that there are parts of the country that are more likely to have that experience than others. Yeah, just from the psychology of everything. Yeah.
Is it prevalent in Missouri where you live, Donnie?
I can't say that I'm that familiar with the area enough to know, but I do know several. Like I do know a few people who are gay but are not out and are married, but I don't know what they do in their spare time. I know in Michigan, I've noticed that in the rural areas it's pretty prevalent, and in Michigan there was a lot of that up where I live.
Well, you see, in the rural areas, you have to remember that they have their wife, then they have their sheep, and then they could do a little tryst with another man. So they have a choice. And bestiality is one of their choices, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's hard for me to take you seriously when you go down that road.
Yeah, I don't know if I can take that seriously either.
Are you kidding, or do you really feel serious about that, Ace?
I do feel serious about it. That's what's really funny. Mm-hmm. I've just run into too many. Well, I was when I was younger. I was a loner. I'd go off by myself and I'd go visit other farms. Snoopy, what do you call it? I don't know what to call it. Anyway, I'm a busybody, and you cannot imagine the number of. And I was just in a little rural area. The number of men I spied on were having sex with one of their animals. Yeah. Now it's what probably older than God, you know.
Well, ew.
Okay, we are really off the rails now, so I'm going to go ahead and switch gears and do some commercials.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much, Sean.
And when we get back, I have a story about the Pope, if you're interested in hearing about that.
Oh, yeah, the Pope.
Sure.
Yeah, he's always fair game on our show. Okay, we would like to give a big thank you to our sponsors. First of all, we would like to thank an awesome company run by our brilliant engineer, miraculous Mike Means, and his lovely wife, my girl Juanita, with whom Ace is dining for Thanksgiving. For great stage and theatrical design and jewelry design, audio and video editing, please visit their company, which is called eclecticresources.net, at their website, www.eclectic-resources.net. Awesome company and wonderful people. Next, and equally as fabulous, let's thank our friends at Diversity Rules Magazine, a wonderful LGBT-focused online magazine that can be found at www.diversityrulesmagazine.com. Also now available as an app on your smartphone. Isn't that wonderful? Diversity Rules Magazine, celebrating the diversity of our humanity. And we are thrilled to now be featured on Next Big Thing Radio, a terrific podcasting website featuring funny and informative shows from our fellow podcasters. Please visit their website at http:// you just go right into it, nextbigthingradio.net. They, too, have an app for your smartphone. I think we need to get an app, guys. I think that's going to be my next project for next year for our show. Anyways, back to commercials. Next Big Thing Radio, podcasting for a new age. If you'd like to learn more about the legendary Ace Lundon, you can visit his blog, Scattered Thoughts from a Scrambled Brain, where he waxes funny and philosophic on a wide range of topics, and you can find that at acelundon.wordpress.com. It's very, very funny. If you enjoy watching YouTube videos, check out Donny Winter's YouTube channel at youtube.com/Donny Winter, where he discusses a variety of subjects ranging from his own personal experience of being a bullying survivor to becoming a major voice in LGBT activism. We're so proud of him. Through his videos, Donny strives to help others overcome the silence we're shamed into when facing traumatic experiences, as well as shed light on current issues within the LGBT community. To learn more about me, again, my name is Sean Chandler. You can visit my writer's website at www.sean Sean, that's SEANW Chandler.com. Don't forget the W. Or follow me on Twitter at Sean at the Flash. And of course, visit the Lundon Calling London Bridge website for posted shows and updates at www.lundon-calling.com. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, of course, at facebook.com/London Bridge.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Yay.
And folks, for those of you who have been following the Lundon Calling shows over the past decade, you all know that we do not tape shows in the month of December. This is our hiatus month. Everybody is doing everything, and it's such a busy time and family time and everything. So we decided 10 years ago to not do any shows tape any shows in December. And we are following through with that again this year. This is our last show for 2015. Our last show, wow, and in this year. And we'll start again in January. So know that there's just going to be a little hiatus again. And hope that you'll have a nice month of relaxing with friends, family, loved ones, pets, whatever. And just have a great holiday time, okay, for both Thanksgiving and the Christmas season. Okay, folks. Okay. Papa.
Okay, so the Ugandan LGBT people are appealing to the Pope so that he will, in hopes that he will speak up for them and he will defend them and help them out with their situation in Uganda. You may recall that Uganda has been at the center of anti-LGBT policies influenced by evangelical Christians. In 2013, Ugandan lawmakers passed a law that sentenced gay people to life in prison or death. And after an international outcry by human rights activists, the law was overturned on procedural grounds. So they are still very, very much way behind the times. And I would think that something like that would have been overturned just on the fact that it's just brutal and mean and hateful and horrible. But now, so it's overturned, so good. But now these poor people are going to the Pope in hopes that when he visits Africa on a trip soon, that he's going to sort of massage their feelings a little bit. And I don't recall Pope Francis talking about gays. And I know that he was in that, he was in sort of a quagmire with Kim Davis, our favorite Kim Davis, the clerk who wouldn't issue the marriage licenses and that. And his general lukewarm stance is, who am I to judge? And I was reading this as I was preparing today, and one of the things that I like to do, and this is actually from advocate.com, is I like to read the comments. And one comment really kind of struck me, and tell me if this isn't exactly the Pope. A gentleman wrote, "The Pope will tell them, that's nice, now be good people and don't have sex."
Yeah.
Do you think that these people are just spinning their wheels when it comes to this Pope? Do you think he will do anything?
When you're dealing with religious figures like that, you have to never forget they have one thing that they all have in common. Every one of them has a theology, a thing that they follow, that they cannot go beyond, because if they go beyond, it would wreck their entire theology. Therefore, they have to keep what they're doing and until to figure out some way to get rid of something, But no, and the Catholic Church is not going to change its what do you call it, philosophy toward gays. No, they might be softening up, but they still, no, it's part of their ology.
And Archbishop John Baptist Odama is quoted as saying, "There is a clear teaching of the church on homosexuality because the aim of it is not to promote life but to act against it. Those with that tendency are called to abstinence."
Yes. Yep. I took that challenge when I was younger of becoming no sex. What in the world is it called?
Abstinence.
Celibate.
Celibate. Yeah. I said, okay, I'm going to test some of the religious dogma that we're going through on these things, and so I chose at the age when I shouldn't have probably to become celibate, no sex whatsoever. I made it for about 2 years, a little over 2 years, totally celibate, and it's a strange position to be in, but I could understand why the church did it, because when you are totally celibate, you do think very differently about a lot of things because you don't have anything on your mind with regard to sex anymore. It's just gone. You don't even jack off. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. It's been so long for me, I might as well be celibate.
Oh, poor Donny.
Oh, well.
We need to get you a boyfriend for Christmas.
Sean, it's been 2 days. That's a long time.
I know. I know, poor guy. Well, I mean, don't they say, maybe I'm just putting together vague theories from TV and media or whatever, that vow of celibacy that a lot of the Catholic priests take could be why they occasionally, well, not occasionally, but at times, okay, not at times, but often act out in ways that they shouldn't. They, instead of channeling their sexual element into something that they would normally channel it into, it takes a form of, like, I don't know, molesting children.
Well, you know, I did a little bit of research into this years ago on this very thing over there in Uganda. Do you know who took over Uganda and why it is the way it is today? The evangelical movement. They went over there with missionaries. They finally worked their way into the real biggies, and their president is a born-again evangelical Christian, and just as fanatical as any Pentecostal over here might be. They are very strong. Now, the Pope would have to go against the president of the country, who is an evangelical Christian, if he, you know what I mean? If he misspoke.
Well, this Pope is becoming a little too milquetoast. There are no opinions issued by him, and maybe that's how the Pope is supposed to be. And maybe it's just because I feel that way because he's not defending our organic selves. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's not defending gay people. He's just like, okay, everybody just, be good people. But the Pope is not stupid. I mean, he knows that not everybody can be sexually abstinent or celibate.
No, it takes a unique individual to do it. But I knew that I was a unique individual, so I knew I could do it. And I did it. I don't ever want to be celibate again. No.
Yeah, and I never have been. So I don't know. I think that perhaps they're looking for protection and they're looking for an ally from somebody who really just doesn't have it in him.
Well, it's got to be hell for him over there. Jeez. I mean, look at what we are getting here. The religious right took over my Republican Party a few years back, and we've been going through hell with their takeover ever since. And now we've got 3 or 4 actually born again evangelical Christians that are running for president. And I move over, President of Uganda. we might have one joining you if these idiots get elected here. This is definitely not the separation of church and state that our Constitution calls for. And I don't know, I'm actually getting nastier as I get older. I do think that the churches should be taxed and the ministers taxed also.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
I agree. They run them like businesses, and they're all about profit.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing that's keeping them. I mean, yeah, they should pay taxes. I was going to say maybe a little bit lower on some of the upstart churches, but because even though I'm not religious, I'm not totally against religion. If they mess around
with politics, they should not be doing that.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we hear it from the pulpits, and it's on television, and we see some evangelist or whatever preacher actually stepping right into the political arena.
Religious hospitals too. They need to be lose tax breaks if they're going to be saying like we won't issue women's birth control, or if a woman is having a medical emergency and her life is at threat, we won't do an abortion procedure to save her life.
Yeah.
Ace, maybe you should introduce that person who just came on.
Oh, yes. Shane Algarin lives in San Diego, California, and he's been sitting in the background and staying quiet. He doesn't have to stay quiet, and I'm glad you spoke up, Shane. Yeah, and you've already met Donny and Sean, so that's good.
It's definitely scary what religion is doing to the Republican Party.
Oh, boy. You can't imagine what I go through with it, being a Republican. Of course, when we had the shows down at Camp Pendleton for the Marine Corps during the Vietnam War, which wasn't called a war, and we found out very soon into our months of booking the shows, because we had to book a 2-hour show a month, live show, and we found out very soon that there were many people in the entertainment industry who would not. They called us war supporters because we were going to put a show on for the men. So we got that from the left, and from the right, they said our shows didn't promote God. So we had from the right and the left. We were hated by people on both the Democrat and the Republican side, but we kept on doing the shows anyway and just told them all to fuck off. If you don't want to be a part of it, don't, But thank goodness the entertainment industry is a great industry with a lot of very compassionate people, much more so than the average.
Mm-hmm.
The irony is those soldiers back then, they were not going into the military voluntarily, yet they were being scorned. And now most of them are going in voluntarily. Last time I checked, there wasn't a draft, but
no, there was a draft back then. Yeah, and we lost over 5,000 men in that stupid war.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they love the fact that the soldiers were going out there and were fighting and not them. But God forbid that you go out there and provide them with a little entertainment once or twice a month.
Yeah.
It's it's just silly. That's a can't win situation. And, Ace, I'm glad you made that connection between the Republican Party and what's going on in Uganda, because recently, and this is off of Toll Road, Republican president hopefuls Ted Cruz, Mike Huckabee, and then the recent pullout Bobby Jindal went to a rally for a pastor named Kevin Swanson, and this is the crazy loon who has the kill the gays philosophy.
Yeah.
And these three clowns went there and we're happy to go and pimp themselves out for president for somebody who would kill a segment of our population.
Yeah. Oh, and that's exactly what they're facing over in Uganda with that crazy president they got there now. I think it's a woman. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a woman. Yeah, it's a woman who's out there.
President Johnson or something is her name, if I remember right. But I can't remember. I'm 80 years old. Forget it. I never said a word. Okay.
And on top of all of this, like 1,700 people went to this conference and paid $79 for a single ticket. Boy, I bet they didn't pay any taxes on any of that.
No. They sure don't.
Gosh, I'm just on a roll tonight, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Well, somebody talk about something else then. There, I'm done bumming out the show. How about that?
Hey, do you know that there are men who hate women?
I would have never guessed that. Like, I guess what do you mean by hate? Like,
I mean,
aren't attracted or like?
There are men who actually just hate women. They don't want to be around them. Period.
You think that's why there's only 1 out of 10 running for president on the Republicans and 1 out of 3 on the Democrats? Because the rich billionaires don't want to fund women?
I don't know about that.
One of those things you'd think would be, if not 50-50, closer to, 55-45, but 1 in 10 is not even close to that. 1 in 3,
Are you making a connection between that and are you talking about women's reproductive rights, abortion, and that? Is that what you're talking about, Shane?
No, I think it'd be nice if there were more women running for president, and curious if that's because
of the man-hater thing?
Of the man-hater thing, yeah. Billionaire, rich guys not liking women.
I do know that in the gay community, and dating back 40 years when I first got involved, there were many of the ones that were coming out that were gay, and they did not want to be around any women at all. They really didn't. And then to top that off, the lesbian community, which already had sort of a foothold when everything was beginning to happen, and before it was beginning to happen, they were there, like the Palms bar. It has been there forever and ever, and it's gone now. But those lesbians in that bar, they wanted nothing to do with all of these new gay men that were coming out. So there is that woman hatred, man hatred thing that is available not only for straights, but for gays.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to go back to what Shane had said. And the only thing that I can really say in response to that is Sarah Palin, because they loved her.
Oh, God.
I know the rest of us were frightened as hell, but they lapped Sarah Palin up big time. So but I can see what you're saying for sure.
Right. Yeah. And this time they haven't really picked a phenomenal, the woman that they did pick was a failed CEO. There's a lot more. I mean, there's a lot of successful women that they could have.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the successful women wouldn't want to be running for president at a time like this.
See, like after watching the Republican presidential debates, I think her name is Carly Fiorina, right?
Yeah, that's her.
I find her to be very interesting because she's the only one who really can shut Donald Trump up, and I just found it very entertaining.
Donald has to walk on eggs around her, though, I'm sure, because he almost got his tip in the ringer there with her once already.
Donald is definitely one of those woman haters, I must say.
I don't,
and he's a billionaire.
Did you see any of you see the interview that Barbara Walters did with Trump and his wife and family? Did you see that? It's an interview worth watching. Yeah, because it shows Trump in a very different light, and you can see where the difference between him and his act. It's there, and he's a very different man in person, and I don't think he was acting because his kids wouldn't let him act, and the grandkids. So he had to be real. And then you see him there, and then you see him on the stump, and it's an alter ego. Mm-hmm.
The thing that kind of freaks me out about Trump is, well, there's a lot, but I don't know if he really gives two shits about gay issues one way or the other. I think to him it's really sort of a non-issue, and he would rather the states deal with it on their own, even though we're far past that. But this man has like a million businesses, and I mean, if you want to come out here and visit me in New York, I can show you 10, 15 buildings. If he becomes the president of the United States, who's going to run all these companies? I mean, being the president of the United States is a big job. It's like full time, and Trump is all about money, big time. So,
but really, does he give a shit about anything? Because whenever I watch him speak, like, he doesn't even answer questions. He's just like, "Oh, I'll do this. It'll be awesome. I'll bomb them." Blah. It's like, I mean, I feel like he is not invested in it mentally at all whatsoever.
Yeah, the president eventually has to become a human being, and he seems very mechanical to me. And now, Ace, I know that you like to watch him speak.
Yeah, I do, because he's a great subject to study.
I think he's entertaining. Like, that's about it.
Well, I will say that I watched the first couple of seasons of The Apprentice.
I did.
Oh, Sean.
I know. And Ace, to go back to what you were saying about men hating gay men and gay women not necessarily gelling together,
right?
I do think that they sort of segregate against each other for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem that way. Yes. I mean, I love my lesbian sisters, but do I have any close contact with a bunch of them? No, I don't. And I don't know too many men that do, unless they are what we used to call fey men. You're lily men, You're what I can't call. Anyway, so goodness sakes, we are finishing up the year already, and it's time. So we know what you're going to be doing for Thanksgiving, and we know that you're going to have a wonderful time for Christmas, and you're going to try and stay warm and stay safe for sure, no matter where you are. And folks, thank you for listening this year and for continuing to listen next year and for telling your friends about the show. We love you, and we don't do the show without you. You're the reason we do it. Now, I'm going to repeat this. There's so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us. It is hard to tell which of us ought to reform the rest of us. Don't forget it. St. Augustine said this: love God and do what you please. And I said, amen. If you do really love your Creator, you don't even need any books of guidance to tell you what to do, because love will just make you do what you do. So love God and do what you please. Thank you, St. Augustine. Folks, it is time to say good night to everybody. Sean, good night. Donny, good night. Shane, good night. And good night, folks. Have a nice nap, especially if you're old. Love you, and good night, Spider-Man.